that's joining. Welcome to our webinar. A few minor technical difficulties, but we're only 1 minute behind. So welcome everyone. I'm Jack, head of growth here at SiteConnect. So look, my role is to walk you through this webinar today on transforming incident reporting into a proactive safety culture and tying that into how we can do that using the SiteConnect health and safety software. So I'm excited to begin. So look, first off, what is the difference between a hazard, an observation, and an incident? I often speak with clients and they do get the three a little bit confused, or at least the workers do anyway. You sometimes see observations being reported as incidents or hazards being reported as incidents as well. So look, as you may know, the hazard is the risk. An observation is the act of identifying and recording, and an incident is the outcome if the risk does materialize. And of course, near misses would be an incident event. Now, I don't know how many of you are using the safety observations feature in SiteConnect. If you do have an active SiteConnect subscription, it has been a feature that has been in there for some time. But often I see it as a feature being underused. So, I do wonder how many of you are actually using safety observations as a feature currently. To give you some examples of what a safety observation actually is, I wanted to show you some examples, but also compare both positive observations and negative observations, because I guess the negativity sometimes around health and safety is that it's always about reporting the bad stuff, whereas what a safety observation can do is actually start to promote and record some of the positive observations that happen around your workplace. So some examples of a positive observation could be correct use of equipment or emergency preparedness. If you've done a recent emergency evacuation process, you could record that. And of course, day-to-day, just things like proper PPE use. Negative observations are really observing hazards or could be hazards such as equipment misuse, working at heights without protection, or again, missing or incorrect PPE. So if you are SiteConnect clients and users here, do start using the safety observations feature in your account, which is active right now. So to actually look at what that actually looks like, let's jump over to a little bit of a demo of safety observations. And then a little bit later on in this webinar meeting, we're also going to have a look at incidents and the relationship between the two. So I've moved over to the SiteConnect web portal, which is the back end of where all of the data goes when reported into SiteConnect. I'm sure a lot of you on this call who are SiteConnect users aren't actually using the dashboards and analytics. We see it as a very underused feature, and we're going to talk more about that now. But look, this is just a byproduct of using the safety observations tool, is that you get this great reporting and analytics that you can have a discussion and start to see trends and an analysis of those trends. So let's have a look at how to report a safety observation in SiteConnect. We're going to go to the open up the app and follow along if you do have the app with you. We're going to go to the home screen and navigate down to this orange plus button down here. And this opens up the report safety observation. You can also very easily access the risk and incident and near miss. And as we covered on the last webinar, we can also manage toolbox talks. And we'll talk a little bit more about the relationship of all four of these reporting system tools very shortly. So reporting a safety observation, in SiteConnect, everything is linked back to a site, location, or property, and you can do that through selecting with the site selector. You would then need to select a category, and we can do that by clicking the drop-down list. And it's from here that we can select an unsafe act, a safe act, a critical item, an opportunity for improvement, or a safety mention. So in the example that I'm going to paste here is actually an unsafe act. And in this case, it's going to be PPE related. Now, each one of these, when I select this, will actually flow into this register, into the analytics. So you'll see when, if I wanted to see a breakdown of safety observations by types, if PPE was taking up maybe, 30 or 40% of my reports, I'd be able to see that in my charts and analytics. So each one of these key types does pull back into a dashboard and analytic. We're then going to select or type in. Remember, we could use talk to text on our device to talk into the phone to make it really easy to use. And then in this case, the action taken is that the contractors were actually stopped at entry. And we're going to give this a moderate rating. It will automatically date stamp, and then we can give it either a positive or a negative rating. In this case, we're going to give it a positive, -2. We can attach files and photos, and tasks and corrective actions, which of course is that feedback loop, to make sure that not only are we reporting observations, we're actually doing something about the observations, very similar to an incident. But a safety observation, of course, is proactive, and an incident and a near miss is reactive, which is why this is so important, to really start to create a positive culture around, really getting the team to report everything that they observe, using the app, and the SiteConnect app gives a really great way of doing that quickly. And then we can report that observation into the system, and that's going to flow into our observation register, which is just down here. So I'm currently in the SiteConnect admin portal under the Safety Observations tab. We can, of course, use our filtering tools to filter by specific sites, categories, and types. So if I did really want to drill down into this register, I can do so for my reporting. You'll also see there's a traffic light system in use here. Another area that we see with our client accounts is that for those that are using the observations feature, they're often left in open status and not actually closed. And you'll see that there's this great color system in here to actually clearly allocate these to certain people to manage and follow up, and to actually have a closeout process involved in it. We can see each one of these can be edited and expanded, such as this one, and we can continue to do a little bit of an investigation process into that observation in the back end. These, of course, can also be exported to PDF and can be included as part of site-specific safety plans, or just evidence gathering for things like SiteWise, Tatika, Impact Prequal, and any other national pre-qualifications that you and the team may be looking to achieve in the future. Okay, so we've had a look at safety observations. Now, I'd like to move the conversation into the reactive, which is reporting incidents and near misses. I don't think any business is reporting enough near misses or near miss incidents. And look, if you're using SiteConnect correctly, it's a great tool to do that, but actually have that learning from those incidents as well. So what we hear from our customers is often that reports do sit in the system without actions being taken. And actually not being able to spot trends or patterns, and of course that confusion that we discussed before about what actually is an incident and what is a hazard and maybe what is an observation. So how can we actually build a safety culture? I'll just make this a little bit bigger. So here we've got our building safety culture life cycle, wherein it really starts with the risk. And the risk is, of course, the whole health and safety approach really should be driven from the risk, and taking a risk-based approach. So start there, understand and break down what your risks are within your organization. Then once those are being communicated via a register, and for those that use SiteConnect, you'll be familiar with the sign on and sign out process. So every time a contractor or a worker signs on using the software, they are actually shown the hazards and risks for that site. And then if we can create a safety observation culture where The crew and contractors are actually observing everything that they see with their eyes that they think maybe is a good thing or maybe a bad thing. Um, the observations are then becoming a very powerful tool to actually get ahead of your near misses and incidents. Um, what one of our health and safety consultants gave a great quote the other day, which was, not many teams actually know what their next incident is going to be. And I think by using this process, you can start to piece together what that next incident might be from data-driven decisions by using a tool like SiteConnect. So then you've obviously got your near misses and incidents, which I'm going to show you very shortly on how to report one of those. But then, of course, through SiteConnect, you've got your corrective action workflow, where you can close out and create corrective actions. So the learnings that you take away from the incident. Finally, you've got your dashboards and analytics, so you can really drill into that data. You saw that before in the safety observations. Exactly the same dashboards and reporting can be built in the incident module as well. And then last month's webinar was on Toolbox Talks. So a safety meeting is a great way to actually look at those trends, those learnings, those takeaways, and those corrective actions, and discuss that with the team via a Toolbox Talk and collect digital signatures from everyone so that they understand what those risks were, what the outcomes of those incidents have been. And then finally, you've got the purple stage, which is the implementation stage, which is really bringing this all together and implementing the takeaways and the learnings from this. So let's move into the incident reporting demo. So again, you've got your mobile app and you've got your orange button, which is your add button. Navigate down to report incident and near miss, and it will take you through to this window here. In software, everyone talks about ease of use, and when they look for new systems, it being easy to use is always something that is at the top of everyone's priority list. With SiteConnect, we try to think ease of use in the way of reducing clicks. So you'll see when it comes to reporting an incident, you've got your asterisks here. These are required fields. So when it actually comes to a near miss incident, all the worker or the foreman or the responsible person or the property manager, all they need to do is actually report what happened. And they can do that in the detail space. And if it is a near miss, they will then be able to report that incident. However, if they do need to actually report maybe an injury, they can select from the types. There's multiple here on display, and there is also the other if it doesn't fit into these categories. Then you've got your treatment. In this case, it was injury, so a little bit of first aid was involved. And then you'll see these actual additional boxes have now popped up. So these are what we call conditional fields, only displaying information based on how the worker or the person completing the form actually responds to that form. So in this case, because I've selected injury, type of injury has now popped up. And this is where we can select from these. And I really hope that your organization doesn't use some of these and hopefully your safety observations will stop some of those from happening. And then we've got your body parts as well, so we can actually do some data analysis. And we've got a pie chart in the analytics in the web portal that can actually break down our relationship with incidents, injury incidents, and body parts. So, for example, if we were seeing a lot of back injuries, then maybe we want to start managing more toolbox talks, focusing on lifting techniques, etc. The other key one here is the relationship between risk. And I said it before, everything is driven from risk. So what we can do in the incident is actually report the hazard or risk that actually caused that particular incident or near miss event to happen. So this is linking the relationship together between your risks and your incidents and near miss events. So when we select this, and it is optional, you don't have to create this or use this function. And you can also come back and add this during the incident process as well. But what we can do from here is create new, which would actually open up our risk assessment process where we can complete a full hazard ID risk assessment. Or we can actually link from our site hazard and risk register down here. And if we do that, you'll see it actually opens up all of the hazards and risks at that particular building, site, location, etc. So rather than having to guess the controls, we can actually select operation of a vehicle and excavations and trenching, and that will actually pull those hazards and risks into this incident report. Select users is where maybe there is a client that wants to see that incident report ASAP. We can then actually email that person by selecting the users who maybe don't exist within the software. And finally, attach files and photos where we can attach an image to that as well for evidence purposes. That is then reported, and using notification roles, the right people within the organization will be notified when that incident has been reported. We're going to navigate down on our left-hand company menu, and we're going to find the incident reports. So for those that do use SiteConnect and you're wondering why I've got these analytics in my incident reports, it's because it's actually built into the dashboard here. Well, we've got this little toggle button that allows you to hide the incident charts and show the register, or you can look at the charts and actually see the register at the same time. So to build that in here, and we'll probably have another webinar on charts and widgets, but we can actually come along and add our dashboards and analytics like this into the system like so. So it's very quick to add those analytics and trends into our reporting processes. So very similar to what we saw before with observations, we're using a traffic light system so you can easily see what is reported, submitted, and completed. And I think our demo account is a pretty bad example of what the ideal SiteConnect incident register would look like. You'd hope that many of these would be at least yellow or green, and that you are seeing that close out so that you can manage those incidents effectively. Like observations and everything else within the software, you can download all of these reports to PDF, which of course, as I said before, can attribute to your site-wise and other pre-qualifications or audit requirements. Next is the back end. So this is where the safety person or the administrator who's managing health and safety within your organization, if you're on this webinar, it's probably you would be able to come into this incident investigation process and actually manage the investigation from start to finish. So some of this information is already going to be submitted in the mobile app. You can add LTI information, which will calculate lost time injury. And it even flows through, although a little bit basic, it does work through the ACC case manager and a return to work process as well. So at least that information is filed and attached to your incident report. We then have the investigation process, which will ask what happened before, how did it occur, and what happened after. We can also select the investigator, who is the person responsible in your organization to investigate that incident. And probably the most important one, which really comes back to our cycle here, which is the corrective actions. And as you see, corrective actions are integrated into the tool itself. So when you come over to your causes and corrective actions menu, you can add as many causes as you need to. So this is your causal analysis. You can add your cause, the type, add a corrective action, and add as many as you need to. You can also attach files and photos at this point. So if you are using a 5-wise incident investigation methodology or maybe an ICAM, you can, of course, attach any supporting documentation to this here. Causes and corrective actions will flow automatically into the corrective action task register over here on the left-hand side, and they will also be available to action on the mobile app. So you'll actually see this task down here on my phone, develop and update policies, was actually a corrective action that flew out of one of the incidents that I was managing. You can add witnesses and also review the hazards and risks. and leave any notes and comments. We can then come along and download that to a PDF document, which I will do now. This is not a very good example because there's not much in it, but you get the picture, that your logo would appear at the top, in a professional way so that you can share this with the right people. So some of the challenges that we hear, every day, with both our customers, but also listening to prospective customers, challenges around this would be that incident reports, even if they, probably not reporting enough incidents is a big challenge. Having that engagement from the workers and for them to really understand and buy into the process, or there is filing happening. Look, I don't think any solution is a perfect system because it's only as good as the information put in, of course. No, we understand that. But we hope with digital tools, it does make it easier that you do have a safety reporting tool in your pocket that you can quickly action these things when you think about them rather than trying to find the piece of pen and paper to do that thing. I think as well, a tool like SiteConnect, because it is accessible by everyone on site, it does actually allow you to build that safety culture a lot easier than historically, where maybe, if I was a contractor or a visitor on site, I'd have to go and find the responsible person to actually tell them about something. Whereas now they can actually just do that on the app and the right people gets notified. So it's just a slightly different way of thinking. So the old approach, which we've really just covered here, paper, reports, and safety checks during annual audits, and then the proactive approach. I believe that is the end of my slideshow, and I forgot at the beginning to say, hold off your questions until the end, but it is now the end. We try and keep these webinars to 30 minutes, so I will open the floor to some questions. And if you can please put your questions in the chat, we'll do our very best to answer them now. Thank you.
Uh, there's a question, Jack, if you can.
Okay, I've just found the question panel.
It's in the chat.
Yeah, I've found it. Sorry, guys. It's a little bit hard when I'm sharing my screen because the Zoom webinar feature doesn't show my questions on that screen, but I found it. So I see that the first question is from Steve Moore. What would be the best way to do a vehicle inspection in SiteConnect? I'll quickly touch on that, but maybe that's potentially the next webinar. There's two ways to manage vehicle inspections in SiteConnect. There's one in which is the way in which through inspections and audits, which again in that orange plus button, you can create your customized vehicle and inspection audits and then complete them by clicking yes, partial, no, not applicable, adding your notes and comments and adding your tasks and corrective actions to those. You can also use the native form builder. The good thing about the form builder is that you can actually schedule those forms. So you could schedule it on a recurrence. So if I needed to do a vehicle inspection once a month, I could set that up to remind me to complete that inspection at 9 a.m. on Monday every single month. You're very welcome. Rachel, you asked if the screen is being recorded. Yes, absolutely. This webinar is being recorded, and everybody who is on this webinar will receive a recording. Feel free to share it around with your team. Get in touch with us as well for anything else that you have. I see that there's actually not any other questions. So look, with 5 minutes spare, maybe if Steve, you're still on the call, I'll quickly drive in to show you. the vehicle inspections and the two ways of doing it. So you can navigate down to the orange plus button here, and you've got two options. It depends where you build it. You can build your vehicle inspection in Create Inspection and Audit, and you can also build them in your form templates. Now, remember, guys, there is the user guide up here, which does break this down into bite-sized steps, sometimes even with videos. So if you do get stuck on something, you can ask the user guide. And of course, you can also get in touch with our team, support at SiteConnect.io, or give us a call. Just to have a quick look at the first one, we can come on down here, and these are all of the examples I've got in my account. Now we'll just go into something like this. We'll go into this excavator one, and that's looks like the nearest one I've got to a vehicle inspection on hand. So you'll see that what it will do is break the inspection down into sections, and I can skip down through sections by clicking the little down arrow. And it will ask me a question such as check and clean air filter. And then I can ask it yes, partial, no, not applicable. So in this case, maybe the air filter is dirty. Again, I can use the talk to text function to talk into my device. I can then assign a task to Jay, for example, to clean the air filter. And I can also attach a file or photograph of that air filter as evidence. Once completed, I can actually come back to that if it isn't completed. Maybe it takes a week to inspect an excavator. I can keep coming back in piecemeal bits if I wanted to, but when it is completed, I can click yes. And then I can also email that to somebody that maybe isn't part of the system. So if you're, want to send that through to a client, you can do here, and then click save. And then in the web portal over here, you've got your templates where we can then see our inspections and audits reports just down here, which will actually show me, again, a nice little chart to show me how many are being completed and the percentage of the completion as well. So hopefully that asked your question. I'll have one last little look to see if anyone else has got any other questions. Can I share an incident report for signing to the employee or contractor? Um, Incident report for signing. So you can share an incident report, I believe, through the mobile app by selecting the user there, Katerina. Can they sign it? Not directly. You'd need to potentially run a Toolbox Talk meeting on the incident report. You could also upload a PDF export of that incident report and get everyone to sign on to that Toolbox Talk. I actually think that would be a better way of managing it because it's actually being managed in the right place. If we look back at that circle that we had before, yeah, a Toolbox Talk safety meeting on that particular instance, you can actually discuss and talk through the learnings from that incident. Hopefully that answered your question, Katerina. And I believe that is all of the questions. So thanks everyone for joining the webinar. We really look forward to hosting the next one, and we will be, yes, sending the invitation through over the next few weeks. Thanks again for your time.